So, green flag waves. So, we'll go through this again, but it looks like Klaverdecha and Lardenoij will start from the back part of the field as they are in the pre-grid at the moment. So, Mads Ries, Karl Marcus Zee, Mike van Vugt, Corby Pauwels, Colin Kerzani, Jan Pokos are your top 6. Linus Hensen, Robert De Haan, row 4. Christian Mansell and Ballas Valint, row 5. Lardenoij would have started on row 6 alongside Bensvelin, but that will change because Lardenoij is in the pre-grid alongside Sasha Klaverdecha. So those two will start from the back part of the field and probably will be released after we get after we get the racing underway. So Klaverdecha's position won't cause any problems. Lardenoij's will means he will be out of position. Behind him will be Bensvelin, Herbert Andreas, Jeff Machiels, Chris Hahnen, Viggo Hjorvard, Georgie Zwain, Guilherme de Oliveira and Philip Post. So they'll let the two out of the pre-grid go, I would imagine, after we have the rolling start and get underway. They come round towards the final corner. Through the tram lines, revs rise, lights go out, and we go racing, heading down into turn number 1. And now the two from the pre-grid also get released too. So, Klaverdecha and Lardenoij at the back end of the field as the field is going through turns, well, the back part of the back straight where you've got the chicane that separates it. But at the front of the field, Mads Ries is coming under pressure from Mike van Vugt from the Netherlands. And we've also got Karl Marcus Zee, who was on the front row but has been overtaken by the Dutchman in the early phase after the red flag stoppage. So 6 minutes 15 plus an additional lap to go. It's Mads Ries again fighting with Mike van Vugt from the Netherlands. And you can see that some drivers include... Oh, nice move there by Linus Hensen up the inside, and Corby Pauwels also forces his way through. Looks like Kerzani... Oh! Big spin involving Corby Pauwels there on the infield. Luckily enough, and that's 2 karts involved there. So yellow flags. So Corby Pauwels clearly involved there. That was a hard hit for the Belgian. Span him out over 360 degrees onto the infield. And just keeping an eye on who else that was. That looks to be Linus Hensen. So Hensen and Pauwels came together on the infield part of the track, joculating for position. So now that should be a yellow flag area, which it is now, which will allow Mads Ries to have a bit of breathing space between himself and Mike van Vugt. So drama already with Corby Pauwels and Linus Hensen being eliminated after a tangle on the infield. So, leading at the moment is still Mads Ries from Mike van Vugt. They have dropped Karl Marcus Zee by over 1.6 seconds. Oh, Mike van Vugt goes very wide coming out of that the back straight chicane. As they, and it looks like Linus Hensen is being assisted there, walking away from the scene of a very nasty hit between himself and Corby Pauwels. So it might have winded Linus there. The main thing is that both drivers are okay. So Ries leads 0.8 of a second between himself and Mike van Vugt. With Zee, Pokos, De Haan, Kerzani, Hahnen, Andreas, Valint, de Oliveira now up from 18th to 10th position. Georgie Zwain is going with as well, having started 17th. Christian Mansell started 9th but is now 12th. 3 3/4 minutes plus an additional lap. So Ries leads from Van Vugt. Zee, Pokos, De Haan, Kerzani, Hahnen, Andreas, Valint. And that is Ballas Valint in the 301 ahead of Guilherme de Oliveira from Portugal, who rounds out the top 10. Christian Mansell, Bensvelin, Jeff Machiels, Viggo Hjorvard, Sven Lardenoij, who's also got up from starting from the pre-grid up into 16th. Philip Pust now into 17th ahead of Clavadeccia, who is the last of the classified runners, with both Pauls. Well, it looks like Pauls might have just rejoined. He's only, and you can see there's more ducking and darting here down a little bit further down the order, and De Oliveira looks to have maybe made up a place at the very least. Could have been at least one, maybe even two places there for the Portuguese driver. So Kobe Pauls has actually rejoined and is lapping nearly 0.8 of a second quicker than Sasha Clavadeccia, who's in last. But Van Vogt again is trying to close the gap on Mads Ries. This is a repeat of what we saw from the Dutchman earlier on today. See, De Oliveira got past both Balaz Valent and Chris Hanen, up into 8th now for the Portuguese driver in the 307, currently running with Dan Holland Racing. So medical team on site with Linus Henson as we speak, but at least the good thing is Linus is up, standing. He walked away from that accident. But it also means that Kobe Pauls' run in this race came to an abrupt end quite dramatically. He still managed to rejoin. Meanwhile, Mads Ries has just done a 43 flat ahead of Mike Van Vogt, who's now 0.728 of a second behind. Just over 1 minute 30 plus an additional lap to go. So no positional changes at the minute. But Guilherme de Oliveira is right on the back bumper of Herbert Andreas from France, going down into the last part of the track. As the leaders come round the final corner across the start-finish line. And Van Vogt has taken a 10th out of Mads Ries that time around. And Andreas and De Oliveira are pretty much matched on lap time, both posting a 43.6. Less than 60 seconds to go plus an additional lap. As De Oliveira is still with Herbert Andreas in the 376. That is the battle for 7th and 8th position respectively, as we have 40 seconds on the clock left to go. Top 10 still it's Ries, Van Vogt, Say, Pokos, De Haan, Kerzani, Andreas, De Oliveira, Hanen and Balaz Valent rounding out the top 10. Van Vogt has taken more time out of Mads Ries, but is it going to be enough for the Dutchman? Might be a little too late from the 317, as he's now closed the gap to Mads Ries to just over 0.4 of a second. 10 seconds to go plus the additional lap. So time has expired. Next time around, Mads Ries will take the final lap board. So leaders come across the start-finish line to start the final lap of qualifying heats for Junior Max, and Ries is still ahead of Van Vogt by 0.4 of a second. And they're about 2.8 seconds ahead of Karl Marcus Say. But Van Vogt has been the one that's set the fastest lap of this race. Just over a lap ago, posting a 42.952. Kobe Pauls, in the meantime, has progressed a little bit further up the order, up to 17th. This is going to hurt his grid position for tomorrow's finals, as the Junior Max and Senior Max divisions will have no second chance heats. And here we go, it's line astern between the two leaders, but round the final corner, it's Mads Ries that wins the last qualifying heat, ahead of Mike Van Vogt from the Netherlands by just 0.274 of a second. Karl Marcus Say takes third in the 395, a further 3.3 seconds adrift, with Jan Pokos and Robert De Haan rounding out the top 5. Colin Kerzani from the Netherlands completes the top 6, 5.5 seconds off the leader. Herbert Andreas fended off the advances of Portugal's Guilherme de Oliveira in the dying stages to secure 7th, with Chris Hanen in 9th. Balaz Valent in 10th. Georgi Zwain all the way from 17th up to 11th at the flag, finishing ahead of Bens Valent. Christian Mansell would finish 13th ahead of Jeff Machiels, Vigor Hjorvard, Sven Laudenoij, Kobe Pauls Philip Pust and Sasha Klaverdecha, with Linus Henson being an early casualty of the race. But luckily enough, he's walked away from that one.